Welcome to Fractions Booklet 7, Adding and Subtracting Fractions with Unlike Denominators 2. So there are two ways to find the LCM, or the lowest common multiple, of larger numbers that have a common factors. So for example, let's say you had, what is the LCM of 8 and 12? Well, the first method is to list out the multiples. So the multiples of 8 are going to be like 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, etc. The multiples of 12 are going to be 12, 24, 36, 48, 60, moving on. The first one I see that they have in common is 24. So in this case, the lowest common multiple is 24. But there's also a second way to go about it, and it's called the factor ladder. So what you do with the factor ladder is you basically put the two numbers you're looking for to find the LCM inside the top rung of the ladder. So I've done that here. I've basically made my little rung here, 8 and 12. We worked with the same type of concept with greatest common factor. So 8 and 12, I know a common factor of both numbers. In this case, let's say 2. 2 is a common factor, so we're going to divide both numbers by the factor and put each answer below the line. Determine if the numbers below the line have any common factors besides 1. So I have 8 and 12. My common factor in this case is 2. So 2 goes into 8 4 times, and 2 goes into 12, 6 times. Does that have a common factor? Yes, it does. You need to repeat if necessary with two new numbers on the bottom, 4 and 6 in this case, until they have no common factors besides 1. If you had started with the greatest common factor of 4, this would have been done in one step. But you can do it in one step or two steps, it doesn't matter. So I now have 4 and 6. I'm on the second rung of my ladder. 2, again, is a common factor, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 6 3 times. Okay, so 2 and 3, are there any more common factors besides 1? No, there's not. So finally, once there are no more common factors, multiply the numbers that run along the outside. It's going to form an L, as you can see here, which is easy to remember with LCM. So all I'm going to do is multiply all the numbers that run along the outside. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. I'm just going top and working my way to the right. So that's going to work out to 24. So that's another way to get your LCM. Moving on to page number 2, how to solve fractions with different denominators. So let's say I have 5/12 minus 3/8. Okay. So you cannot add or subtract fractions unless they have the same denominator. We've said that multiple times now. Since 12 and 8 are the denominators, find the LCM to get a common denominator. In this case, 12 and 8 is 24. We've already done this one. So let's go ahead and try that out. I know that basically we need to find their equivalent fractions now. How many times does 12 go into 24? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically put my little fraction here for 24 minus 24, or the 24ths minus 24ths. I like to set that up so that way I can use my arrows to help me along. So basically, how many times does 12 go into 24? Twice. 12 times 2 is 24. So I'm going to do 5 times 2. What is 5 times 2? It's 10. So now I have 10 24ths minus blank number of 24ths. So I'm going to go ahead and move on down. I'm going to repeat this exact same process with the next fraction. How many times does 8 go into 24? Well, 3 times. 8 times 3 is 24. So I'm going to do 3 times 3 as well. So what is 3 times 3? 9. So now instead of having 5/12 minus 3/8, I am now subtracting their equivalent fractions of 10 24ths minus 9 24ths. Once the fractions have common denominators, solve as you would normally. So 10 minus 9 makes 1. So my final answer is 1/24. Finally, we're going to move on to page 5. We're going to find out how to find the LCM of more than two numbers now. So let's try to find the lowest common multiple of 40, 24, and 48. You could, in theory, list out all the multiples of all three numbers and see which fits, but that could take forever. And do you really know the multiples of 48 off the top of your head? I'm guessing no. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to, again, use the factor ladder. So I'm going to start with my factor ladder. I'm going to place the numbers inside the top rung of the ladder. Set it up exactly as you've been taught previously. So instead of just having two numbers, I'm going to have 3. So I'm going to put in 40, 24, and 48. Again, I'm going to find a common factor for all three of these numbers. So step 2, write down a factor for all three numbers inside the circle. Divide the numbers by the factor and put each answer below the line. Determine if the numbers below the line have any common factors besides 1. So for 40, 24, and 48, I know it has a common factor of 4. 4 goes into all three of those numbers evenly. So 4 will go into 40 10 times, 4 will go into 24 6 times, and 4 into 48 is 12 times. Do they have any common factors from there? Yes, they do. 2. So 2 will go into 10 5 times, 2 will go into 6 3 times, and 2 will go into 12 6 times. So now I'm thinking, okay, 5, 3, and 6. Now this is where it's different from where you learned previously. If there are no factors that go into all three of the numbers in the bottom, in this case 5, 3, and 6, only have a common factor of 1. So there's nothing, no other number besides 1 that goes into all three. If you see a number that can go into 2 out of those 3, you can do the same process again. In this case, 3 and 6 have a common factor of 3. So what you're going to do is you're going to place it out on the left, just like you've been doing before, and you're going to divide only 3 and 6 divided by 3. The 5 in this case is left alone and just brought down unaffected. It's not going to be touched. You're not going to divide the 5. Once you do that, and you see there are no numbers that go into any two of those numbers, then you multiply along the L to find the LCM. So I'm going to go through each step how we've done it before and show how this step is different. The first one, I put in for 40, 24, and 48, I had a factor of 4. So that left me with 10, 6, and 12. 2 is a common factor of that, so that left me with 5, 3, and 6. 3 goes into both 3 and 6. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 3 for my factor there. The 3 is not a factor of 5. So I'm going to leave the 5 alone. So I'm going to bring the 5 down unaffected. The 3 will go into 3 one time and go into 6 2 times. So now that I have my L all figured out, I multiply 4 times 2 times 3 for the left part. That would make 24. On the bottom part of the L, I have 5 times 1 times 2. So if I multiply those together, 24 times 10, I would end up with 240. So my lowest common multiple is 240.